everyone. Welcome back to That Music Junkie. My name is Nick, and joining me today we have Joseph Reo from the band Hidden in Plain View. How you doing today, Joseph?
I'm good. That's funny. I haven't been called Joseph in a long time, but I love it.
If you prefer Joe, I'm sorry. I guess I should ask you that.
Yeah, cool. So my mom calls me Joey. It's all right.
Fair. It's like when people call me Nikki. I'm like, please don't. Cool. So, Hidden in Plain View, we have a new album that just got released a couple weeks ago at this point. Tantrums.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, this is your first new music since the Christmas song single, which was 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, the Christmas song single, actually, it says it was out, in 2020?
Mm-hmm.
But that's a funny story. No, that song's old. That song's like 2004-ish, 3-ish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Apple Music's just wrong.
Yeah, no, well, it was pulled down, and I think I was like sitting around on the pandemic, and I was like, it was like written around Christmas time, and I had this idea. I wanted to like record a song with Rob, our guitar player, singer, and we didn't get around to doing it because of the pandemic. So I was like, I'm just gonna put the Christmas song back up. So I did. I went through like TuneCore, I put it back up, and then I get like a text message from Rob, like, I don't know, 2 days later, and he's like, "Yo, who put up the Christmas song?"
No.
So that one was just like that was like for our old fans who were around when that thing first came out. It was just kind of like hey, yeah, here, if you haven't heard this in 15, 20 years,
I got you.
Yeah.
So in that case, does that mean Tantrums is your first music since Animal?
Animal.
Which is like 2015?
Yep.
Wow.
Really. Yeah. Really, that was like, and funny enough, Wildfire, a song on Tantrums, we wrote that like not too long after Animals. So, and I started recording it not too long after Animals too. It just was something like Tantrums took its time. And then of course there was a long break for everybody. Tantrums was originally supposed to come out around February of 2020. And it just got held up like everything else got held up.
Yeah, everything came to a screeching halt there for a while.
So when that happened, we kind of kept looking at each other being like, when are we going to do this? Shouldn't we just put it out? No one's touring anyway, but we just don't do anything anymore at all these days unless it feels right. And if 7 years feels right, then we're going to do that's why it didn't come out to 2022. So.
Well, honestly, that's kind of admirable though, because I feel that speaks to a true artist in that you're doing stuff like you said that feels right instead of just constantly pushing stuff out, and it starts to lose its soul. It starts to lose its feeling when you're just pumping stuff out just for the sake of pumping stuff out.
Well, exactly. Like we're pretty out in the open with it, Hidden in Plain View. We started this band in 2001. And we were full time until about 2007. We grinded hard, and that's basically what put us on hiatus, right? We killed each other, we killed ourselves. And so when we came back together, when we started to do it again, it was something that we all looked at. We're just like, look, we're not gonna do anything unless it's fun, unless it makes sense, unless it looks right and feels right, and it is a representation of us. And so we're not this full-time band out there trying to make a living off our guarantees and our merch and everything. We've all very much have career jobs, and we do this when we can make time for it, which we all try to do. So we have that's kind of a luxury too. It's kind of like, we can wait around and put it out when we feel ready to put it out. So. This has been a good year for it, so everything's kind of coming together for it this year. It's been great.
Well, that's awesome. If it feels right, like you said, go for it. It's funny. My first introduction to y'all's music was, don't hate me for this, 2005. There was an album released called Punk Goes 80s.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction to you guys. You did a cover of Iran, originally by Flock of Seagulls. And I got to say, this is not exaggeration. I'm not just fluffing you because, you're my guest or anything like that. It's literally my favorite track on that whole album.
Really?
It is. And
I love the song, and I love how it came out. We sonically, I think we all have different things like in the recording that we wish we did differently. That I don't think your average music listener can even, recognize. But like as musicians, and with some sort of like, history of being in the studio, now there's things we would have wanted to do. But it's crazy, like when you look at your band on like say Apple Music or on Spotify, and you see, I Ran as the top streaming song, you kind of put like a bullseye target on that thing, and you just want to overcome it. But hey,
that's just like, so my brother and I are big fans of the band. I mean, him a little bit more, but the Devil Wears Prada. We've seen the Devil Wears Prada like a few times at this point. And it's the same thing. If you go to the Devil Wears Prada on Apple Music, literally the first song that pops up is their cover of like Still Fly off of Punk Goes Crunk.
Yeah.
Which is, and they don't even like it. It's hilarious. So, with a band like yours and a band like theirs, that you put out a lot of really solid music, I think I can understand how it'd be frustrating. Like, cool, my most popular one is a cover I didn't even write.
People love I'm a sucker for covers. I have a playlist on, where I stream my music that's just my favorite covers. So I mean, like, who doesn't love a good cover?
I'm always down for a good cover personally. Yeah. As long as it's done right. I think a few years ago, I'm gonna say 5 years ago, I think I wrote an article, something along the lines of like good idea, bad idea. And it's like a good cover of this, or maybe it's just something I wanted to do. Been doing this for a while. It's hard to keep track, but a good cover, like the same song but done by two different bands, who did the good cover, who did the bad cover.
Who did the good cover, who did the bad cover.
Exactly.
That's a good conversation.
I feel like I could do a whole podcast episode about that.
we could schedule one. Let's do one together.
Hey, I'm always down, man. Absolutely.
I have some right on the top of my head we can talk about.
Oh yeah? Nice. See, like I've been a Breaking Benjamin fan pretty much since they came out, maybe like a little bit after.
Nice.
And they did a cover of it's on their greatest hits. And they did a cover of Enjoy the Silence from Depeche Mode, which is a great song, great band, and I don't care for it.
Really?
It's not. Oh, I love the original. The original's fantastic. It's just that cover is not great. But on the other hand, Lacuna Coil did a cover of it, and it sounds great. So it's just one of those things, like good cover, bad cover, so whatever.
I do this kind of nerdy thing too when I'm listening to music. Like I'll hear a song, and I love that song. I freaking love that song. I mean, I'd love to hear this band cover that song, and I don't know why I pulled this band out of the sky. And like one that comes to mind, there's the song by The Cure I love called Shake Dog Shake. I don't know if anyone out there is like a huge Cure fan, but that's one of my favorite Cure songs.
That's a deep cut right there.
It is. And I just hear like Thursday. I hear the band Thursday.
Okay.
Song and just, shredding it. Just, I don't know. I would love it. It'd be a dream.
I never would have thought of that. That's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah. Shake Dog Shake, think Thursday, and tell me if I'm right. I don't know.
After this interview, I'm literally going to go, I'm going to listen to that song, and then I'm going to listen to Thursday, and I'm pretty sure I'll pick up what you're putting down. Awesome. So getting back on track.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's good. That's how I like these to go, man. Like I said, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
I don't like railroading things. So I wanted to give you my personal feedback about Tantrums. I listened to it through about 3 or 4 times already.
Okay.
One, I think it's great, and I mean that sincerely. You have that from the first note of the first song. I was immediately drawn back to that kind of emo movement going on during those early 2000s and my high school and junior high days, but in a very authentic way. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel artificial or manufactured. Like for example, a lot of people give Greta Van Fleet hate because they're channeling Led Zeppelin. They sound like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
I didn't pick that up with Tantrums. To me, it felt very, like I said, authentic. It felt very you guys, very hidden in plain view. But on that same note, you can very much tell that you guys have matured. You know, your vocals, just the instrumentation, everything sounds very much like you guys, but grown and matured. And I think that was great. Great move on your all's part.
I take that as a giant compliment. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's mixed great. Who did I couldn't find the in my initial research. Who did the mixing and the producing for you guys on that one?
So that was all us. That was Rob, our guitar player. Yeah. So
okay.
Like going back to saying we all have career jobs. His career job is he built his studio. He's built 2 studios in his life. This is the second. He produces and mixes and records for a living. And so we have this amazing, awesome resource in Rob, and you know, even just him, like we can go there and track or write and track, and then, you know, I'll be sitting like at home on a Sunday night doing dishes. I'll get a text message from him. It'll be like a link to a cloud where, oh man, check this out. I messed with this. I dropped this over. I mixed this. Tell me what you think. Like, you know, he can just go play with it. So again, like we had time and resource to just, to not settle. And I think that was, you know, one of the things we really wanted from this. Like when we were doing the demo process, there were other labels. Like we did Animal with Rise. Rise Records helped us with that one. They didn't fund any of the recording, but they did put out on their label. This one, we had some ideas, and there were some labels, and it would have been cool. But that, like I said, the pandemic hit, things fell through. They weren't interested anymore. But the beautiful thing about this was like we didn't have any outside like A&R or like anyone giving us their opinion on what our songs should sound like. It was just us. And like you said, I think we all got a little bit better at our instruments. I think I know for a fact, like I'm not afraid to do things with my vocals that I might have held back from doing earlier on. So I tried to go there, and Rob and I have been doing this together since high school. So, you know, I'm not going to age myself, but that's been a while.
I feel that.
He knows me and I know him. And right. So when I'm in the booth recording vocals and he's behind, you know, the board tracking them, you know, he knows what I can do or what I should have done, or maybe he, you know, so it just was a really great experience. And, you know, Rob's a professional. He's really talented. He knows what he's doing. And anybody who lives anywhere near North Jersey should look him up. He's in Sparta, New Jersey, at Audio Pilot Studio. Yeah.
There you go. Big shout out right there. And that's fantastic. And I think that really shines through on the record, because yeah, it's great when you have an experienced producer come in and, you know, they kind of push you and, you know, get you to do things that kind of get you out of your comfort zone. And that can be great, and it can work out. You know, check out classic albums. You know, you look at the producers and, you know, they know what they're doing. But on the other hand, I think that's really cool that you guys have that, not only that familiarity, I can talk, but words, they're a thing. But not only do you have that familiarity with each other, but you have that established working relationship going back years. And that, like you said, he knows what you're capable of. He knows what your limits are, and he can push you to that without it breaking, essentially.
Well, and to that too, you know, all the lyrics on Tantrums are Rob's. They're not mine. So, you know, I may be the only person, maybe besides his wife, that knows what those songs are about. And, you know, so like, so I have this amazing connection with him, you know, as best friends going back, that like, you know, that can be a real intimate moment, you know what I mean? Like where like for a singer like me singing another person's lyrics, some of them are on topics that I don't really connect to, right? So, or maybe I can try to understand the situation, but I've lived it. So I really do it authentically. And so, you know, we talk about that, and we'll figure out ways for me to sing those lyrics with meaning. And I mean, it's a layered process, a layered creative process. And I don't think people really understand, it's easier these days with Pro Tools and digital recording, and plug-in, or you're not even called plugins, but all these, different, I guess, apps that, can make things sound different, or, I guess overproduced, but,
Yeah.
but it still is a real, creative, artistic, something, I guess. But I mean, when you're trying to make a record, or you're trying to make a song or record a song, right, and make it sound like, the image of it you have in your head, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's great though. Being able to connect with someone else's lyrics, or as in like singing someone else's lyrics, I can imagine. I am not a singer. I sound like a coyote in a trash compactor. It's not pretty. So I can only imagine the I don't want to say difficulty, but perhaps challenge. Maybe that's the right word of connecting. So
it's not like that for me anymore. It's not. And plus, he and I have a kind of a similar vocal range. There's things that he'll do that, I can do, or there's things that he can do I can't do. And that's part of the reason why we consider ourselves, dual vocals, right? So he just can sing in a low register way nicer than I can. But like when it comes to like real big pushing high parts, that's kind of my specialty. So if you listen to a Hidden song, or any Hidden song going way back, like you find that like, Rob's singing the slow, quiet part maybe, and I'm singing the other, the lead, maybe higher part. And then when we sing harmonies, a lot of times a band, their lead vocalist will go back in the booth and sing 3 or 4 different harmonies over themselves.
mm-hmm.
We don't do that, right? So it's always Rob and I. So that vocal harmony sound is ours, right? It's what you hear live, if we're going to sing a harmony live, or it's what you hear on a recording. It's my voice and his, or his voice and mine. And if we do a third part or a fifth part, it would be one of us, most likely him. But yeah, so it's just really, it's become like our signature thing, right? It's just it's part of what makes us have that sound.
I think that's really cool personally. Lets you kind of stand out amongst your peers, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
As of recording this, you guys have Furnace Fest coming up.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is y'all's first show in like 3 years, from what I saw. I mean, I could be wrong on that.
Yeah. I mean, it's so scary to think about, but yeah.
So
our last show was 2019, the Warped Tour reunion in Atlantic City. It's another festival. So
yeah.
That was an incredible show. We could have walked off into the sunset after that show. That was an amazing show. We didn't have to ever play a show ever again. That's not true, but it felt that way after that show was over. But no, Furnace Fest is coming up. Are you going to be there?
Unfortunately, I can't make it. I was looking at it just doesn't line up on my schedule, unfortunately. But I thought about it because there's some pretty cool acts they're going to be playing, and plus it'd be cool to see you guys, of course.
Yeah.
Man, Warped Tour, I have some good memories about that. I used to live in Ventura, so I was walking distance from Ventura Fairgrounds, which is where they held it there.
Yeah, so, it was beautiful in Ventura. It was one of the best stops on the entire tour.
It's there on the beach.
Yeah. If awesome. I could think like the best stops on Warped Tour, Ventura would be up there, top 3. San Francisco would be another one, and probably Tampa.
Oh, okay. Florida.
The ones on the water. So there you go. Right?
That makes sense. Yeah. That's cool. So are you all, I mean, I don't want to say nervous because you guys have been doing this for 21 years at this point now. But your last show being a festival 3 years ago, going into your first show being a festival, how are you feeling about that?
Good question. Up until last weekend, I think we were all a little nervous. It's kind of tricky. I live in the Philly area, and all the other guys are in North Jersey, where I grew up, and so it makes practicing kind of tough, right? Getting together, and everybody's got busy lives, as everyone does. But the guys have been getting together and jamming for a while now, in the summer, like just, building together, the set, how the set's going to flow, putting transitions between songs, and just trying to kind of, build a set list. And I went up last weekend just so that we could do a full band practice, and it sounded awesome. Like, we sounded really, and we played for hours, and we probably could have stopped and just went home, but no, we just decided to keep running through. My voice was strong. I sang for hours, and same with Rob, and it was awesome. So we have another band practice coming up, and then the set. But the thing is, with festivals, as much as I love them, sets can be short. So
yeah,
we've got it pretty broken out. I don't want to give too much away, but we're not doing too many breaks in between songs. We're just gonna
push through it. Yeah.
Right through. Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
We want to fit as many in as we can,
Yeah, I've been to I've been to countless concerts. Like, I've honestly lost track of how many bands I've seen live. And it's always cool when they take the breaks and they talk and all that stuff. And then on the other hand, it's also really cool when they just push through and you get to hear as many songs from your favorite band or whatever you're seeing at the same time. And then sometimes it's cool when you get a little mix of that. Yeah, like going back to Warped Tour, one of my favorite concert experiences was at Warped Tour 2014, and I was watching Bowling for Soup doing their set. I love Bowling for Soup. They're playing, they get to 1985, so everybody's like freaking out. They stop the song halfway through. They just stop, and you hear this like cheesy, like education, like learning in the workspace kind of music come over, like and the band gets in the middle of the stage and they start posing, and you hear over the intercom, they're like, "It's your mid-set photo op." They didn't say anything, they just started doing it, and they're just posing, and this goes on for like 2 straight minutes, and then they stop and pick up the song right up like nothing happened. It was amazing.
Awesome. That's pretty awesome.
But on that same vein, if a band doesn't know how to handle stage talk, it's super awkward.
Yeah, no, I don't like being the one as the front man, right, or the singer. Everyone's expecting me to say something, right, super profound or whatever, right? Interesting. I'm not good at it, and I'll be prepared. I'll have something, and by the time I get up there, I'm like, no, don't say that. I have something in my head. Don't say that. I think it's like when a band comes up and they're personable, and they're connecting to the city that they're in, and then maybe say one thing before their last song and get off. That's cool. That's if that's
works for me.
Yeah, I don't know. For myself personally, another thing too, I have this laugh that I never hear myself laugh, right? But other people will point out my laugh. When I'm on a microphone, I can hear myself. I can hear the laugh. Okay. So if I giggle or if I have a little, it just comes out over the whole crowd. I'm just like, oh God.
Oh no. I'll do DJ sets, and sometimes the set will call for me to like say stuff. Yeah. And yeah, that was an adjustment. It was when I started doing videos too. Like, I understand, like, oh my God, you get little quirks and things that you do. It's an adjustment. One last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up here is Heavy Reel Brewing. You guys kind of partnered. You're a master brewer?
I'm not a master brewer, no.
Oh, okay. So my info's wrong.
I'm like a geeky guy that, like, in 2009, I decided to homebrew, right? And I went to the local homebrew shop over here in Philly, right down the street from where I am right now. And I met the people there, and I got to talking to the people there. And I don't know if there's any homebrewers in your listeners, but they get it. I just got addicted to it. And so I've been a home brewer for a long time now. And I'm not shy about it. So I guess, and there was one time too, like I did this homebrew thing and we shared it with some of our fans at like a VIP on at one of our shows, which was a great time. The head brewer and the owner of Heavy Reel were there, and just out of the blue, they reached out to me, being like, "Do you want to do a collab?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, I'm like, get a home brewer to get a chance to brew on like a real setup, like, you know. So they're in Jersey, Seaside Heights, New Jersey. So I was like, sure. So we actually took one of my recipes that I got pretty good at brewing, and scaled it up. You know, made a couple of little adjustments here and there, and voila, we made a beer, a Hidden in Plain View beer. I think we're gonna try to rebrew it because it did well. It sold out. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna put a link up, but if it's sold out, I mean, I might put the link up anyway. Give the brewery.
I mean, it was only like a regional thing, right? So we had to be from New Jersey or in New Jersey to get it. I mean, I know they ship, so if you're willing to pay a little bit more to get your beer shipped, like, they'll do it. But I think look back again in January, and try to get another batch of that out.
There we go. All right, so keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Cool. Joe, man, thank you so much for talking to me today. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So keep an eye out for Furnace Fest if you haven't got your tickets yet. If you're just now watching this and it's already passed, I'm sorry, but Hidden in Plain View, Tantrums, it's available to stream now, Apple Music, Spotify, all that stuff. Go support the boys. They're doing good work. All right. Thanks for talking, Joe.
Yeah, see ya.